It's Wednesday. Y'all hear those horns? You know what's up. It's time to play some toss. Welcome everybody to another episode of Tristain on Sports Show Toss. Thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. Glad to be with you. Man, we have got some things to talk about this week. It has been a crazy week. If you talk to anybody else outside of these organizations, you would think that the sky is falling and death is falling from the skies to take us all. Calm down, everybody. T-Square is here to calm you down. Let's get into the state of the state. Let's start off with the Milwaukee Bucks, who kicked off their season, as we record this, about a week ago, and prompted to go 0-3 in their first 3 games. That's a little bit of a surprise that they're 0-3 in their first 3 games. I didn't think anybody expected that. I mean, we know you're shorthanded. All right. We understand that. You didn't have everybody. John Henson got hurt. You didn't have everybody to begin with. But you would think that the effort would have been a lot better. A lot better. And it just wasn't, especially in that first game. To get smashed in by the Knicks like that, who they could be better than we all think. But again, it's very early. But the way they've been playing, I believe they're 2-2 now. The way they've been playing, it seems like they may be coming together and they may be a little bit better than everyone thinks that they are. We'll see. Time will tell. But we expected the Bucks to be better than this. Now, again, folks, it's early in the season. We are only 4 games in as it stands right now. This is no time to be calling for doom and gloom. Oh, forget it. Write this season off. We're out of the playoff chase. That's ridiculous. And I've read that from some people. I've heard that from some people. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Calm the hell down. It is not that serious. But what is serious is what's going on the court. Things that are of a concern. Now, the game I want to talk about is last night's game. Again, I'm recording this on the Tuesday for Wednesday premiere. So Monday night's game, Bucks, Nets. Bucks got out of there with a win, 103-96. The first team they've held under 100 points all season. That's not something that you want to see. This being the first game they've held opponents under 100. It was a good effort. It really was a good effort. I liked what I saw on both ends of the court. Defensively, they got after it a little bit better. Offensively, you saw them share the basketball. The spacing was a little bit better. But then at the same time, you still saw some very concerning things. At times on the offensive end, the sharing wasn't there. It was one shot missed, and then you missed on getting the rebound. The spacing was just odd at times. It just wasn't where it needed to be. Defensively, you're giving up far too much candy on the inside. That was a strength of yours. You have a front-loading perimeter defense, and you're supposed to make it tough. You're supposed to make it tough to get anything on the inside. Everybody's getting all they want and then some on the inside. Even some scrubs coming off the bench are getting off on the inside. That's very concerning. And again, this is something that we spoke about here on Toss long before the regular season started. We're talking about this before the preseason even started. This bench is a concern. We are 4 games in. We've had a 4-game sample. There were 8 preseason games. We saw it then. I said that this bench was a concern of mine, and it's showing to be just that. It is a legit concern because they cannot hold a lead, they cannot grow a lead, and they squander it. That is not what you want from your bench. There should be no drop off, not at least to that extent, with your second unit. That's a legit concern because you're going to come across teams that have pretty decent benches. And if those benches outperform your bench, that's going to be an L. Look at what the Knicks bench did versus the Bucks bench in the first game of the season opener. Smashed them. Absolutely smashed those cats. That's not what you want. It is a legit concern. It is a legit concern. The bench is still weak. Now, we'll get into some of the ways I think that they can fix that. Another thing I think that is hurting them right now, and will be hurting them a bit more, even if they were fully healthy, is Jason Kidd's propensity to kind of jumble his starting lineup and jumble his bench and who he uses and things of that nature. I think this team, where it stands now, can't handle that many changes. Now, you should be able to roll with the punches, go out there and perform. I get that. But at the same time, there needs to be a formula. There needs to be, okay, this is our starting five. This is our second unit. These are the guys that we're going to rock with. These are the guys we're going to roll with. I'll play matchups when I need to. But he consistently moves and shakes and just kind of jumbles the lineup. And I think that really puts guys out of position, and it really hurts the chemistry. It really does. At the end of the day, this thing is about chemistry. It's about a team gelling together. Yes, if you have injury, a guy who is on the bench is going to have to come in and be a starter, and he's going to have to give you starter minutes. He's going to have to give you starter effort. I get that. And some guys can succeed in doing that, and some guys are inconsistent at best. To put guys in that position each and every single time is a tall task, especially for a young team. So there needs to be consistency with the lineups, I think, in order for this team to really begin to gel and become what we all know they can be. And I think the thing that hurts them is the fact that they haven't been healthy. They haven't been healthy at all. But reinforcements are coming. Again, I'm recording this on a Tuesday for a Wednesday premiere. So as of tomorrow's game, Jabari Parker, Tyler Ennis, both coming back. Everyone is excited to see Jabari coming back. We'll see if Tyler even gets any time. I know they're going to have Jabari on limits of time. They're going to have him on time restrictions. 15 to 20 minutes, I believe, per game until he can get back into that basketball conditioning. They feel a little bit more comfortable with the knee, and rightfully so. I figured that would be the plan. You can't just go and throw him out there and play him, 38 to 42 minutes. That's just not going to happen. You have to ease him back into it, and this is the beginning of. Not only is this going to be the beginning of them having that starting five that he envisioned. It's really going to put guys in their place. I equate it to a baseball team and their pitching staff and their bullpen. You have your starting five in the rotation, right? 1 through 5. You know those guys are going to be out there every fifth day. You have your bullpen. Guys play roles in that bullpen. You got guys who can give you long relief. You have guys who are specialists, like left-handed specialists. And you have guys who are the setup man. They come in the 8th inning. Then you got that closer that comes in, in the 9th and shuts it down. Guys like to know what their role is and play that role with perfection. But in order to do that, there has to be health. The Bucks have not had health, so they have not been able to put guys in their places. I think with Jabari coming back, that's going to be the beginning of that process. Now, you hope to get John Henson back here soon. He's got, I believe, a strained Achilles, something going on with his Achilles. You hope to get him back soon. He is really your legitimate rim protector, and he was showing that. So you hope to get him back because that's going to put all the pieces in place. You have all the pieces, but some guys are injured. All the pieces are there. They have to be put in place. The only way that's going to be able to happen is with health. Again, these guys are getting healthy. They're going to come back. They're going to start playing. That's going to help them gel. That's going to help them get that chemistry. Then you're going to really be able to see what this team can do. We're 4 games in, everybody. Chill out. Calm down. It is not doomsday. 4 games in, you got another 78. They're going to get this thing together. They stand at 1-3. I think things are going to get better. And I know a lot of people out there who are smart about it and know that things are going to get better. But then you have those people out there who love knee-jerk reactions and just love a negative story and just love doomsday theories and this, that, and whatever. I'm telling you guys, sit down, chill out, watch them work. You got 78 more games to get this all together. You're getting your guys back and healthy. They're going to turn this thing around. They're only 1-3. It's early. I can't stress that enough. Chill out. The Bucks will get better. You get guys in place. When they're healthy, they play their role. They know what they're going to do. They know what's expected of them. And you're going to see you're going to see much better defense, much like we saw last season. You're going to see better offense, better spacing. And overall, you're going to see just a much better team. Amazing what health can do for you. So just calm down, relax, chill out, crack open your favorite beverage, enjoy it responsibly, and watch the Brewers work. Watch the Bucks work. I said the Brewers, man. I got something on my brain about them too. Watch the Bucks work, everybody. Our next stop on State of the State is the Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Green Bay Packers starred in a game on Sunday night in what I like to call the Denver Debacle. Y'all all saw that. The whole nation saw it. Nobody else was playing. Everybody was watching you. All eyes were on you two teams. And you go and you play like that. 29-10 loss. My disappointment isn't with the loss because, as you guys know, if you listened to Toss last week, I predicted the Packers would take their first loss of the season. I also said they would take their first loss of the season as a 24-21 loss. Damn, was I wrong about that. 29-10? Aaron Rodgers only had 77 yards passing? Eddie Lacy, yeah, he had a touchdown run, but you also only had 38 yards rushing. Randall Cobb led your receiving corps with 27 yards. Receiving. I don't know what to say about this. To be a team that has been such an offensive juggernaut for many years, even back to the Brett Favre days. You were automatic top 10, most times top 5 offensively. Overall offensively, and we're not talking about points per game, but we're talking about pure offensive yardage, you're in the bottom part of the league. I believe last I checked, they were 26th in the league in offense. 26th in the league in offense. We talked about their offense. We talked about their struggles. And hey, it was a 3-game snapshot in which I said, okay, after 3 games, you're still playing like that, you're officially struggling. This is the 4th. Yes, those other 3 games were a win, but this is the 4th. And it's not like they didn't face good defenses this season. They faced that Seattle defense. That's a good defense. The Niners played good defense on them. They faced the Rams defense. Y'all see how they're out there killing fools right now, and they beat them. So they faced some good defenses this year. And they go up against the number 1 defense in Denver, and they play like that after having 2 weeks to prepare for that game. That's where my disappointment lies. It's not in the fact that they lost. I knew they were going to lose. I called it. It's in the fact that you had 2 weeks to prepare, and you played like that. That is my true disappointment. The defense gave up their second straight 500-yard offensive game. Second straight. That's concerning. Anybody who's not concerned by that, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. Because from what I'm watching, teams are exposing you now. They're exposing that defense right now. That's that back-to-back 500-yard offensive games given up by this defense. I know. I said Dom Capers likes a bend but don't break defense. He didn't give up a touchdown pass to Peyton Manning. Matter of fact, got a pick off of him. Demarius Randall, the rook, continues to play well. And I said it before. I'm going to say it again. Can we get this guy's name in the Defensive Rookie of the Year talks? Because he should be up there. But after these last two games, I mean, that might hurt them. That's guilty by association. Offensively, the receivers can't gain separation. Again, you're going up against the number one defense. I got that. They've got some great corners out there, led by Aqib Talib. You knew it was going to be a tall task going into their yard on Sunday Night Football in that altitude against a number one defense in the NFL. So I knew it was going to be tough sledding. But they could gain no separation. And this is the second straight game they could gain no separation. They faced the Chargers their last game. Do y'all see what these Chargers are doing? They're not that great on defense. That's a concern. Then you got the doomsdayers out there saying, oh, it's over. It's over. Packers need to pack it up. It's over. They're not going to make the playoffs. It's Seattle all over again. They're melting down for the entire season instead of that game. Shut up. Do y'all hear yourselves? Do you hear how stupid you sound? They're 6-1. If the playoffs started today, they'd be the number 2 seed. How is that collapsing? They suffered their first loss of the season. How is that collapsing? This is not a collapse. This is a thing about execution. The Packers have not been executing at all offensively these last few weeks. They definitely did not execute at all this week. Now you could go back to that Charger game and say, hey, they got exposed passing wise. They did not execute passing wise. What are you going to do? I said it before. The Chargers have no run game. So they had no choice but to chuck the ball 65 times. There's going to be yardage gain when you chuck the ball 65 times, especially when you have a quarterback the caliber of Phillip Rivers. So all you doomsdayers, sit down, shut up, stop it. This is their first L of the season. It's not like they're on a 4-game skid. If it was a 4-game skid, I'd be a little bit more antsy. I'd have to say, in my Vince Lombardi voice, what the hell is going on around here? But they're not. They're not on a 4-game skid. They've lost one game. And everybody wants to run around like Chicken Little screaming the sky is falling. Sky's not falling. Maybe you fell on your head to think that this is a collapse. They are simply not executing. It's got nothing to do with their scheme. And you know what? What I'm saying right now is exactly what they're saying. Go to Packers.com, watch the interviews, read the articles. They're saying the exact same thing I've been saying. It's about execution. You could put together the greatest schemes, the greatest game plans against every single team you want. If you don't go out there and execute it correctly, you're going to lose. If you don't execute, you're going to lose every single time. And that is what's happening right now. Past few weeks, offensively, they have not executed well. And they know it. Defensively, they have not executed at all. And they know it. So everybody crying, worrying that this is a collapse. Everybody crying for them to change the scheme. I even heard people sit out there saying, fire Mike McCarthy. Are you stupid? Do you know how much of a damn fool you sound like right now? Yeah, fire Mike McCarthy. I asked the question, who would you bring in? Who would you bring in? The fire Dom Capers movement continues. They really got fired back up this week. You see how they lost? No, fire him. He's awful. He's terrible. Stop it. One of the great defensive minds this game has ever seen. Period. They had a bad game. They didn't execute. Every team's going to have that. Every single team's going to have that. There will be no undefeated teams in the next 3 weeks. I may be wrong on that, but hey, that's what I feel. Because I think my prediction is Packers are going to win this Panthers game. They're going to go to Carolina, and Carolina's coming off of an overtime win against the Colts. They made things tough on themselves by not executing. So if the Packers could go in and execute the way that we all have seen them be able to, I'm talking both sides of the ball. And sidebar, let's give it up for the special teams. Because when you don't hear a peep out of them, that means they're doing their job. Ron Zook has come in and has really gotten these guys together. They're not giving up the long kickoff returns like we have seen in years past. Yeah, they haven't had the big, huge plays in their own return game. But to make the opposing team have to march a long field to even try and get any type of scores, that's a win. That's a win. So shout out to Ron Zook and that special teams unit because they are doing the job right now. But offensively, defensively, you guys need to do the job. And it's all a matter of execution. And I think they will get it together. Mike McCarthy said it on Sunday. This was a very humbling loss. Maybe this is what they needed. You know, they've been skating by, getting through by the skin of their teeth the past couple of weeks. Now you got smacked around. It's like, hey, wake up call. You're not that great. You can't afford to put it in cruise control. You can't sit here and think that just by showing up, you're going to automatically go out there and score 30 points and hold these guys to 16 points. You need to go out there and work hard and execute. And I think that's what they'll do. I think they will beat Carolina. I think they'll beat them 28-17. I think it'll be a far better defensive battle than most people think it will be because I think that the Packers will execute on both sides of the ball. I think these receivers will be able to get back to gaining separation. This defense will go back to being able to stop the run. This passing defense will be able to hold serve. And thank goodness that Sam Shields is far worse injured than we thought he was. They're calling him day to day. So that's going to be a huge help. But I think there will be better execution all the way around. And I think they'll go to Carolina on Sunday and they'll get this game, come back home the following week against Detroit, who hasn't won a game at Wisconsin in 20 years, 22 years, something like that. They're in shambles right now. So you have some opportunities to get things back on track, but do not take Carolina lightly. They will put up a fight. But you have to go out there and execute. It's another good defense you're facing up against. Hey, right now, playoff started today, they'd be the number 1 seed in the NFC. How crazy is that? So you need to be able to go out there. You need to go and execute. I think they will do that. Everybody needs to chill on all this. I know they're struggling. I know they're not executing, but the sky's not falling. They're not collapsing. This is not the NFC Championship game from last season. Everybody sit down, take a sip of your favorite beverage, enjoy it responsibly, and watch the Packers work. They'll be fine if they execute. Our final stop on State of the State this week, we're going to head over to Madison. Talk a little bit of Wisconsin Badger football. Haven't checked in with them in a few weeks. Trying to get that salty, disgusting taste of a 10-6 loss to Iowa out the mouth, so I kind of let that simmer for a couple of weeks. They're 7-2 now. 4-1 overall in the Big Ten. I think that loss to Iowa obviously is going to keep them from making the Big Ten championship game, which is a disappointment because I predicted that they would make it, and it's going to be bad because they had that one loss, and essentially you need Iowa to lose twice. Iowa's ranked number 10 overall in the country, and they have one of the best defenses in the country, still undefeated. I don't see a loss on their record. I don't see a loss in their schedule all year. Maybe when it comes to a bowl game, depending on what bowl game they get, depending on the opponent, but I really do not foresee them losing in the regular season in the Big Ten this season. So hoping and holding your breath for Iowa to lose twice in conference play, that's asking a bit much. But they're 7-2. They're 4-1 in the Big Ten. I think Paul Chryst has really gotten the most out of this squad. I think he really has so far exceeded expectations with this particular squad. Now, we all felt he would come in, felt like he would come in. And he's going to be a good coach. He just seemed like the right fit. But we didn't know what to expect from this team this season. He really didn't. You go from getting Anderson's guys in here running a completely different scheme to getting Tristain here, and he's got a completely different philosophy. Which one of those guys is going to be the quarterback? Who's going to mesh? Are they really going to be able to run his system? And I think he's really done a good job at adapting the system and using who he has. Corey Clement returned this past Saturday, and they just flat out beat the brakes off of Rutgers. I mean, they flat out. They smashed those dudes' face mask in. They really did. I think it was like 48-10. Bad. I mean, really bad. They smashed those guys. The defense has been good. I think it was 5 or 6 straight opponents at home in the Big Ten held, or actually 5 or 6 straight opponents held to 10 points or less at Camp Randall, which is amazing. That defense is flat out getting it done. Besides that first game against Alabama to start the season, they haven't given up 30 plus. That defense has been good for the past few seasons. So, I mean, give them a lot of credit. They're playing very, very good ball on both sides of the coin. Paul Chryst really getting the most out of this squad. It just makes you excited for when his guys get in there and to see what type of system they can run. Because remember, he's a guy that helped Scott Tolzien along. He's a guy that helped Russell Wilson along. Last I checked, both of those guys were in the NFL. Russell Wilson has won a Super Bowl. He's a viable quarterback, big contract. Scott Tolzien, a lot of people are high on him. They said he's taken leaps and bounds of improvement. And you saw flashes of that when he got to play when Aaron Rodgers was out. You got to see a little bit of that in preseason. You can see that he can play. But those are guys that Paul Chryst has worked with. So I'm excited to see how this program is kind of going to morph. They're never not going to be able to run the football. I mean, that's something that they're always going to be able to do. That is the foundation of this program. It is what it was founded on. It's what the success is built upon. But that next level of success was when they had a good quarterback, good pass catching options, and they were able to pass football and run the football, have a balanced offense, and that defense, for some reason, always come together. That defense always comes together. You always have some playmakers on that defensive side of the ball for Wisconsin. So it just makes you really excited for the future, seeing when he gets his recruits in there, when they really start grasping his system, when he starts playing his type of football. It's exciting to think what they'll be able to do. I think they'll be able to hang with some of these teams, some of these juggernauts. You know, Michigan is improving. They're going to be good for a long time. Hey, Michigan State is always a threat. We all know what Ohio State does. Hey, and Kirk Ferentz, hey, he has these types of years when he gets a really good defensive ball club in Iowa and they start just smashing fools' faces in. I think they can hang with all those guys. I definitely think they will get better. They will continue to improve. Paul Chryst at the helm is a great choice. And I just wanted to give those guys some love because we haven't talked about them in a while, and they're having a pretty decent season. Obviously, you could do without that one loss, that 10-6 loss against Iowa, because they would be in prime position for a Big Ten championship game. But hey, 7-2, 4-1 overall in the Big Ten, that's not too shabby. That's nothing to sneeze at. So big ups to the Wisconsin Badger football team. The guys are going out there. They're continuing to play hard. And they may get a pretty decent bowl game out of it, but you got some work ahead of you. So you need to go out there and continue to win, and I think they will be able to do that. So that's the state of the state. The Bucks, we're struggling. There's still some concerns with their bench. Guys don't know their roles because there hasn't been enough healthy bodies, but now you got some reinforcements. Jabari Parker is coming back Wednesday night. That's going to start setting things in motion. You hope to get John Henson back very soon, and then you will have the team that you envision out there on the court. They're 1-3. Everybody chill. They'll get it together. Green Bay Packers, chill. They only lost once. They haven't been executing, but I think they will. I think they get that win in Carolina. Again, chill out. Sky's not falling. Wisconsin Badgers, tough Big Ten loss a few weeks ago to Iowa. Going to keep them out of that Big Ten championship game, but they still continue to play well nonetheless. 7-2 overall, 4-1 in the Big Ten. Continue to play well, guys. Let's see what you get for a bowl game, and we're excited for your future. Coming up on toss. We're going to head into the toss sweep. And I'm just going to give you the keyword. Mixed bag. What can I possibly be talking about? Find out next on Toss. Get at me on Twitter at the20double on Twitter. That's at the20double on Twitter. And also, don't forget, Toss is available on iTunes. Just go to iTunes, check podcast, type in Toss, and you'll see your friendly neighborhood T-Squared's logo right there. Just click it, subscribe so you don't miss a minute of Toss. Welcome back, everybody. It's T-Squared on the Tristain on Sports Show, Toss. And it's time to get into the Toss sweep. I gave you guys a keyword before the break. Keyword is mixed bag because we got quite a bit to talk about. It's just a big jumbled bag of stuff. We've got coaches getting dropped. I mean, it started with Joe Philbin. We talked about that weeks ago. Ken Whisenhunt, a guy who got the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. A guy who was supposed to go and transform Tennessee into a contender. And it didn't quite work out that way. 1-6 to start this season. And management has seen enough. He is fired. Mike Mularkey takes over as head coach, the offensive coordinator. Man, let's talk about that mess in Detroit. They fired everybody but the head coach. New offensive coordinators, new offensive line coaches. It's crazy right now. What happened to that offense? Now, I'm on the record. I was on the round table with Dennis Krause, Tom Pippins, and I said, when Dennis Krause came out and said, "Oh, don't sleep on Detroit," I said, the thing about Detroit is every time they make the playoffs one year, the next year, where are they? They become this broken, shattered shell of a team that than they were before. And it's happened again. I said that losing Nick Fairley and Ndamukong Suh on that defense is going to make you regress. And that defense is almost non-existent. Very non-existent. It's dumbfounding. And now they're saying Jim Caldwell is on the chopping block. Well, what have you done to really help him? Like, I get it. The offensive play calling for Detroit was god-awful. It was horrible. Just deplorable. Matthew Stafford is better than what he's shown. Calvin Johnson, we all know he's better than what he's been able to show. Golden Tate, look, I never really felt the guy. I never really liked him, especially after Fail Mary. He is what he is. But he had a hell of a year last year playing off of Calvin Johnson, who was really banged up last season. He's not existent. Amir Abdullah, the rookie who had great flashes in preseason, he can't hold on to the damn football. I mean, it's just inconsistencies on that offense all along. And I thought that was the only way they would be able to have a good season is by having an explosive offense. And it's not. It's not explosive at all. I mean, it's barely a firecracker. So they fired everybody but the head coach. But I think if this season keeps going like it is, they end up 1-15 or something like that, I'm not so sure that Jim Caldwell is safe. Speaking of firing everybody but the head coach, the Indianapolis Colts fired Pep Hamilton, their offensive coordinator. Why do you fire Pep Hamilton? You guys are forcing Andrew Luck, who it was revealed that in addition to that shoulder injury, he's got broken ribs. People have been saying all along, he's not healthy. I was watching them saying, he is not right. He's not healthy. And it turns out he's not healthy. Not even close. But you fired the offensive coordinator. Why? He didn't have anything to do with that. He doesn't make the decision on whether or not Andrew Luck plays or not. He went out there and worked with Matt Hasselbeck and got you a win. Why would you go out there? Why would you fire him? Now, we all know that Chuck Pagano is on the chopping block. We know this. I'm going to call it right now. He's a lame duck coach. Things have deteriorated and deteriorated fast for him. And it's amazing to see how high they went. Got to the AFC Championship game last season. Have made the playoffs consistently. They have gone a little bit further each single time. And now it's just boom, flat on their face. And they're in a tie for first place in their division still with the Texans. And I think both of them are 3-5. How awful is the AFC South? I mean, that used to be that used to be NFC South status. Like, hey, you 3-5 and first, well, you 3-5, you got a chance to win the division. You got a chance to win it. Now it's transferred over to the AFC South. Like, man, how deplorable is that division? Where first place is a tie, and the ties is between the Texans and the Colts at 3-5. That makes my stomach hurt just even thinking about it. But hey, you could call yourself a first place team. Doesn't matter what record you make the playoffs at. You make it, you got a chance when you get to that tournament. Anybody can get hot. Anybody can get hot. So it's just a big, gigantic mess as far as NFL head coaching goes right now. It is ridiculous how the pressure to win has been ratcheted up even more this year than has been in years past. It's amazing. It's amazing. Let's dig a little bit deeper into this mixed bag of stuff. Let's talk about some injuries, man. We have had some devastating and scary injuries. Let's talk about Ricardo Lockett and that hit. And he went down. I saw this live, and he went down, and it was one of the scariest things I've seen because he didn't move. Hands, feet, arms, legs, none of that moved. Now, I had a feeling that he was knocked out cold, and it was revealed that he did have a concussion. He was knocked out flat out cold. But man, it was that you never like to see that. You never like to see that. I don't care how much of a rivalry you might have. You may not like that person. Whatever the case is, you would not wish something like that on anyone. And if you do, you got some serious problems. That was really a scary thing to see. But when he started moving his hands, he started moving his legs. I was like, okay. You kind of take a deep breath, like, okay, exhale a little bit. That's a good thing. He's moving his extremities. That's a great sign. That's a great sign. Turns out that he had ligament damage in his neck that he had surgery on. He's out for the season. And the thing is, he might be done career-wise. So, I mean, that is scary. But the thing is, I'm just, prayers up to him because you hope he makes a full recovery. And it's not even about football. It's just making a full recovery for life so he can go out there and, he can do things with his family and be able to do other things and just live a normal life, without the challenge of paralysis and things like that. So, just prayers up to him. Hopefully he recovers well. That was a scary scene, but the fact that he was moving, that's always a great sign. And like I said, just prayers to him. But we've had some devastating injuries to some major players. Steve Smith is gone, and he may be gone for his career. That may be it with that Achilles tear, man. And how many of those have we seen? Arian Foster had an Achilles tear. No, he's gone. Cameron Wake, he had an Achilles tear. He's gone for the season. It jumped off in the preseason with Jordy Nelson tearing his ACL. Kyrie Robinson, running back for the Saints, pretty decent back. When he gets his time, he changes pace back. He does pretty decent. Broke his leg. He's out for the season. And that was nasty. That was brutal to see. That was brutal. Le'Veon Bell, gone for the season. What they called a badly torn MCL. Now, usually when they come out and they say, this person has a torn ACL, torn MCL, that's how they describe it, torn MCL, torn ACL. They came out and said it was a badly torn MCL. That concerns you when somebody comes out and puts a description before it. Badly torn MCL. It wasn't the ACL, so you dodge a bullet there. But the thing is, when they come out and say badly torn MCL, that, for lack of a better term, is bad. It it always hurts when you see great players get hurt, because you always want to see the best of the best out there. You do. You always want to see the best of the absolute best out there. And guys are just dropping left and right. And you say, man, it's the nature of the game. And unfortunately it is. Injuries happen. And teams have to adjust and keep moving forward. Doesn't mean that they forget their teammate. But as a fan, when you sit there, I mean, you want to see the absolute best of the best. And when they're dropping like flies, it's like, it just, you know, the individual who got hurt is the only one that's hurting. The team aren't the only one that's hurting. You as a fan are hurting, because it's like, man, you're going to miss that player. You're going to miss him. A guy like Steve Smith, who plays his heart out, gets just a fiery player, fiery guy, talks, but he goes out there, he backs it up each and every single time. That might be his career. Now, you got John Harbaugh coming out saying, hey, I think he's coming back next year. I wouldn't be so sure. He'll be 37 years old, coming off of an Achilles tear. One of the hardest injuries to come back from. You talk to any athlete who has had an Achilles tear, and they will tell you that it is far more difficult to come back from that than a knee injury. That's saying something. And at 37, you don't heal quite as fast. I would love to see him come back from one season, one full healthy season, just go out there and just ball out like he has been. But man, I mean, you got to let this dust settle first before you see what he goes and does. Love watching him play. All his years in Carolina and the years that he's been putting in Baltimore. I mean, he was one of my favorites because he is so fiery. He is so passionate. And he'll talk. But you know what? He goes out there, he goes out there, he backs it up. See, I don't mind if you talk. I don't mind that. It's a part of the game. I don't mind a little trash talk, but back it up. You know, back it up. Don't be one of those dudes that just run their mouth and has no game. Freddie Mitchell, Fred X, prime example. Prime example of having an alligator mouth and a hummingbird ass. He talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and had no game to back it up. So if you're going to do that, have some game to back it up. And that's what Steve Smith did. He'll talk. He's a fiery individual, passionate. Love that about him. And he'll go out there and produce. I love that even more. So I just hope that all these guys just recover. Prayers up to every single one of them, because they putting their bodies out there on the line for people like myself. And to say I appreciate that is an understatement. It's an honor to watch these guys go out there and give up their time, to give up their bodies, and for our entertainment. You know, because this is not an easy game. It's not an easy game at all. Just hope to see them back sooner rather than later, and see them come back to full health. No setbacks. Get good, get strong, come back next season. Let's get to the bottom of this mixed bag in the tall sweep. Let's talk about early NBA surprises. Now, I know, we're 4 games in. Maybe a little bit too early to talk about early season surprises. So let's just call this early season surprises. Let's go to the Eastern Conference. Detroit, at the point in time of me taping this, is 3-0. Now, I knew Stan Van Gundy, he's in charge of the basketball operations there. He's also the head coach. I knew he was going to get things together soon. I didn't think it would be this soon. Those guys are playing pretty well right now, 3-0. Another surprise, and I mentioned it before, is Milwaukee being 1-3. I think everybody's shocked by that. Until last night, the effort hadn't been there on either end of the court, really. Spacing wasn't there offensively. Defensive-wise, you just are not the same up to this point. So I think, for me, that's a surprise that those guys are 1-3. Everybody else, you have the usual suspects. Cleveland is good. Chicago's good. Toronto's good. I knew the Heat would get things together. They're playing a lot better. The usual suspects are there in the East. So it's not really a whole bunch of surprises there. Just those main two. Detroit 3-0, playing very well. And Milwaukee being 1-3. I don't think anybody really expected that. I thought they would be a little bit better than that. Maybe 2-1. Or excuse me, not 2-1, but maybe 2-2. Just because you got to account for youth in that. Sometimes you're just going to make some decisions that make you scratch your head, and they're going to have a lot of learning and growing experiences. Patience is a word with those guys. So I just need everybody to practice that now. Everybody says, "Oh man, they're young. We just got to give them time." And then as soon as they lose their first 3 games, it's over. It's over. I don't want to keep rehashing it, but it's like, come on, man, just sit down and shut up. Just let them get everybody healthy and get it together. Just watch them work. Watch them work. Let's go on to the Western Conference. My surprise in the Western Conference is not that the Clippers are 4-0. I think, it's a little bit of a surprise. I didn't know they would be 4-0. You knew they would be good. I thought maybe 3-1, but they're 4-0. They're still undefeated. They may be better than we think they are. So keep your eye on the Clippers. I think they might get over that hump this season. Maybe. You already know what my prediction is of who's coming out the West. But they're playing very well. They might be a little bit better than I thought. Minnesota right now is playing pretty well. They're 2-1. Karl Anthony Towns is playing well. I think he's learning from KG. I mean, man, they've got some players, man. They got a nucleus. Ricky Rubio, Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, they got some players. They've got some players. I mean, will they be able to kind of sustain this, win 2 out of every 3? Who knows? But right now, they're an early season surprise being 2-1. My question for all of you, and maybe it's not all of you, because some of you agree with what I say. You've made that known. But a lot of you out there were in this group here that were sleeping on both the Warriors and the Thunder. A lot of people out there calling the Warriors illegitimate champions. They didn't play anybody. Everybody they played was hurt, even though they won 67 games in the West. Ended up winning 83 games combined, postseason and regular season. Third most in NBA history. That's 70 years. But yet they're illegitimate champions. They didn't play anybody. The Thunder. New coach. Durant and Westbrook don't get along anymore. Who else they got? Nobody. They ain't gonna win. They're 3-1. Y'all done sleeping on the Warriors and the Thunder now? Like I said, it's early season surprises. But that's a good start to get out to. 4-0, 3-1, Warriors and Thunder, respectively. I told y'all last week, don't sleep on those guys. Do not sleep on them. And a lot of people were still sleeping on them. I think you guys need to kind of heed my warning sometimes. Listen to your friendly neighborhood T-Squared every once in a while. I know what I'm talking about. I don't just pluck it out of thin air. It's eyeball tests. It's studying the facts. And the fact is, those teams are good. And I knew they would be good. But people out there just choose not to see it, choose not to believe it, and that's okay. That's a great thing about sports. You can have your own opinion. But facts are facts. And the facts are coming out on that court. And the facts that are coming out on the court are what I saw in preseason as well. And now it's translating over to regular season. Those two teams are good, especially the Warriors blowing fools out like they are. They beat, the Grizz by like 50 last night? Whew. Steph Curry only had 30. Only 30. But he got 21 of them in the third quarter. I mean, these teams are good, man. Y'all need to stop sleeping on them. Stop sleeping on these cats, man. I'm telling you, they're going to be forces to be reckoned with all season long. You already know my predictions, though. I said either the Spurs or the Warriors are coming out the West. So as good as I think the Thunder are going to be, I think they're going to come out short. Cleveland is good. I think that's still my pick to come out of the East. There's been no changes on my predictions right now because it's early. Way too early to be making any changes, and we need some more time to kind of evaluate and see what type of team these guys are going to be. But stop sleeping on those guys. If you guys got any sleepers, go ahead, list them on our Facebook page, T on Sports Show. That is TON Sports Show. Let me know. Holler at me. Let's see what differences that we can hash out on all that. But that's the toss sweep. Just a big jumbled mixed bag of different stuff, man. It's just a lot going on. It's a great time. Oh, and before we head off to break, shout out to Ned Yost and his merry band of ex-Brewers. The Kansas City Royals got the job done. They won the World Series. I watched that, and it was just really good to see. I really liked that squad. I liked them last season. They just really play a style of baseball that you want because they never give up. They do it exactly the way you want it to. They don't need to have a bunch of big power hitters out there. They got some guys that got some pop in the bat. Kendrys Morales, Ben Zobrist. Guys like that have some pop in the bat. Lorenzo Cain, a little bit of pop in his bat. But they go out there and they put the ball in play. All right? They don't strike out a ton. So the ball's always going to be in play, which is always going to give those guys a chance. They go out there and they play top-notch defense. They pitch very well. I mean, it's just when you talk about team, that is a team. That is a team. And they won that as a team. And like I said, it's Ned Yost, former Brewers manager, who I think Atanasio pulled the trigger on him. I think it was a panic firing because they had lost a few games. It was coming down the stretch. They had a wild card spot, but they were kind of in danger of losing it. But that's the nature of the beast. That's what happens with this wild card, especially late in the season. Teams make runs and they make it interesting towards the end. So Ned Yost, former Brewers manager. You got Lorenzo Cain, former Brewer. Alcides Escobar, who had a long hitting streak postseason. Hey, he was a former Brewer. It's like you sit there and be like, man, I wonder what could have happened had those guys stayed here, had Ned Yost stayed here. They would have built them, built a little bit better through the farm system. They would have gotten a little bit more talent, been able to keep some of their talent. Man, I wonder what would have happened. But big ups to the Royals, man. I mean, they got the job done. They got the job done. You wish they would have gotten it done last season, but they didn't. But kudos to them. They came back. A lot of them were saying, hey, that wasn't the end last season. That was just the beginning. Sometimes you got to lose it to come back more hungry to win it. Sometimes you got to lose it, learn the lesson, and come back and win it. Hey, I know. I lost in the finals of Talk of 2014. I re-entered 2015, came back and won it. So I feel the Royals on that one. It's a lesson to be learned in that. And it's cliche as hell, but I got to say it. You never give up. You never give up. Because sometimes you got to learn that lesson. Sometimes it's meant for you to lose so you can learn that lesson. So you can figure out something different to do. How can you improve and come back and get after it? So learn the lesson and come back and get stronger. Never, ever give up. If it's worth it, you won't give up. It'll be difficult. It'll be difficult. But the work will be worth it. You'll be able to live the rest of your life as a champion. This is Toss. All right, y'all. It's time for me to get on up out of here. That does it for another edition of Tristain on Sports Show Toss. Thank y'all for joining me, man. I see y'all out there. You're listening. You're enjoying. But hey, I got to let you know anyway. We are everywhere. We are on iTunes. Like I said, search Toss on podcasts. You'll find us right there. Subscribe so you do not miss a second of Toss. We are on Stitcher. Go to Stitcher, search for Toss there. Subscribe there for all my Android heads there. We got you covered. We're also on Libsyn. That's Toss Show, TOSSSHOW.Libsyn, LIBSYN.com. That is where you can find us. We have the links on our Facebook page. That's TON Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show at Facebook.com. Y'all know my personal Twitter handle, The20Double. That's at The20Double. Get at me there. I've had some great debates over the past weekend, and I've had some pretty crazy ones. I've never used a block button more this week than this is the most I've ever used my block button on Twitter because people are getting a little bit out of hand. I don't mind debating you. It's pure sports debate, but when you start going and getting personal, that's where I got to draw the line at so I don't have to cuss y'all out. So T on Sports Show at Facebook.com and The20Double on Twitter. I want to thank each and every single one of you who is listening to this, and I want to thank y'all for y'all support. We're growing, y'all. We're getting better for you. That is always the goal. I'm going to grow this. I'm not going to stop. And whatever y'all dreaming, do not stop. Do that for yourselves, man. Do not stop. So, as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is Tristan Thomas reminding all of you that dreams don't catch themselves. Get up, get out, get after it. Until next week, so long from Toss.